Hey, what's up, y'all? Back with another video that discusses sneaker resale, and it's my sneaker resale report and analysis for January 2022. Now, the cool thing is I go back to the previous year and I do a year-over-year analysis for anyone who's interested in seeing how sneaker resale is fluctuating between the years. So let's get to it. I'm going to be reading from over here to my side, so you can simply go to the description, click on the link, and go and read this article and look at the statistics and the data for yourself. If you have questions about this data, then you can write me. If you have a bigger request that requires me to do more research and to break down the information, then I have a button on this link as well, not in the description, but on the website over here, where you can go in and request a consultation, and I'll go through the data with you so you can get a better understanding. So this is using StockX. So it's not using eBay. eBay is just the platform does not cater to actually if you have a lot of really expensive stuff that you know people are going to buy quickly, then eBay is okay. GOAT is StockX has simply kind of changed the entire discussion around resale. But let's get to it, because I talk about that in this post because there's a really interesting thing that's happening, and well, it's not a good thing either that's happened, and that's the amount of shoes that I sell now has decreased considerably. Now, everybody that's like a traditional kind of sneaker culture person that's like, I hate resellers should all die. I break down resellers into two categories, but let's get to it. Over here, year-over-year comparison finally reflects the reality of what I'll label unassisted resale versus assisted resale. What do I mean by URS versus ARS? Unassisted is the process of acquiring sneakers via legitimate methods, retail purchasing, arbitrage, using the sneaker apps to win like elusive, more coveted pairs, buying wholesale from someone who may have a lot of shoes that they're trying to get rid of. All of these things are legit, and that does not undercut the system, and it doesn't undercut buyers who want the shoes. Now, you can't argue that going for a raffle and winning it and then selling it undercuts the system, but there's not that many of those kind of raffles hitting nowadays. They used to, but not anymore. But that is unassisted resale. Assisted resale is utilizing bots to grab an excessive amount of inventory of coveted sneakers. Really, that's all that assisted means. Now, there's not a lot of backdooring going on anymore, and a lot of people tend to think that there's a lot of backdooring going on. I don't think there is, man, and it's very difficult to kind of get away with it now unless you own your own shop and you're selling them out of the back door of your own shop. So that's a reference to potentially when people look at a Michael Jordan's son store and them selling the shoes. But to be honest about that, I saw a person at FedEx here in Memphis, and that person had probably 100 to 200 pair of those trophy room ones. So when Michael Jordan's son said that they were stolen, he was probably right. But that's what I'm calling assisted resale, where you're getting stuff and it's really actually hurting the market. So let's get to it. I've never been an assisted resale buyer. That's never been my thing. But while my resale numbers reflect Nike at retail, I do have to express that I have access to more footwear than the average person. So to get these kind of numbers that I have, you can't be just a regular person. But this is because my participation in resale and developing strategies for over 12 years is critical to how I access inventory. The average consumer, in all likelihood, cannot hit the numbers that I hit. Now, this is what's interesting. When you look at my numbers from last year, January 2021 to January 2022, that's a year-over-year comparison. It's becoming obvious that I don't have the access that even I used to have. So if my numbers are falling, the numbers across the board for resale are falling. So those people who hate resellers, you got what you wanted. The market no longer caters to resellers. You have what you want. If you're not getting the shoes now, you simply aren't getting the kicks. So you can't really look at a reseller as somebody. You can't look at those dudes that use bots. I do not use bots. I don't have my own servers. I don't have proxies. I just don't do that stuff. But what I'm about to get into is really important for retail and resale. So let's jump into that part of it. Now, resale is diminishing because, and this is talking about me, I can no longer visit retail outlets and purchase sneakers to flip. My entire business was always built on arbitrage. I would go out to stores where the shoes had been decreased in price, and then I would flip those shoes to look at the margins and pay very close attention to how much I could make on each pair. And I would pull out 10 pair of shoes a day from retail locations around the city. That's dead. It's over. There's just less inventory to go around. There are a ton of new sellers. There's a lot of new sellers. Everyone sees reselling as the golden goose. The problem is the goose is barren. What I should say is the bulk reseller is dead. So I would be considered a bulk reseller, but I wasn't getting hot product. I still don't. I've switched my model over to work with people who are clearing out big quantities of sneakers that they're selling because they overextended themselves. So I'm taking advantage of being in a city where a ton of people are reselling. And then I just allow them to bring things into the shop and I'll buy them from them and give them a fair price for it. And then I'll move it in a completely different way. But I used to be able to go out into stores and leave with, like I said, 10 pair of sneakers a day. The policies that have limited me from doing retail arbitrage is limiting everybody else. I'm not the only one that's being affected. There aren't fewer sellers, though. That's wrong. I can't even say that. Everybody's reselling. There are more sellers moving fewer sneakers. And this will ultimately lead to fewer sellers overall. But that's not where I'm going with this discussion. Let's dive back into the numbers. You see over here to the side where it says 620 and 168. I saw a 72% drop from January 2021 to January 2022. January is notoriously slow, but this January in resale was stark. I only sold one non-Nike Jordan brand sneaker, and that was the Asics Noosa Tri 13. Now, I could have sold more, but the policies prevented me from buying multiple pairs. There were also fewer sneakers that could be resold in stock at the stores. The consumer is buying. Don't mistake me saying that retail is diminishing from saying that the stores are hurting. The stores are not. Shoes are selling at the stores. People are buying. But the inventory is low on the resale side and at retail for items that resell. I hope that's clear. Remember, I'm saying inventory is low only on sneakers that resell out of retail doors. Dunks, Jordan 1s, right? Stores have more than enough product. They may not have a bunch of Jordan 1s and Jordan retros, but they have more than enough product. They don't have as much Nike Dunks and Jordan retros. But the walls are filled. So when you go to a sneaker store, you're going to see stuff on the walls. It may not be the stuff that hype is interested in, but there are shoes on those walls. When you ask the managers at the stores are doing well. But why is resale slow? Bullet points. Store policies have limited the number of shoes that can be purchased. It doesn't matter if the shoe is on sale. Buyers are relegated to one sneaker, one style per purchase. Resellers offset this when a sneaker is hot by walking out of the store and re-entering with cash to make more purchases. I agree. That's goofy. But the DMs and the auditors look at the transaction to make sure the managers are adhering to the corporate policies. Resellers also work in teams to offset that limit of one per purchase. Store raffles on apps weren't as abundant in January 2022. There were just not that many. And with more resellers trying for the sneakers that will hit resale, winning a raffle is more miss than hit. Fewer resale styles available means fewer sales. Shoes are not on sale the way they were. Those who use the arbitrage model, like me, can't find enough profit even on the few shoes that are marked down, and we're limited in what we can purchase. This is a big one. Store managers are allowing their employees to purchase sneakers that aren't picked up from the raffles. Resellers are fighting employees for sneakers. I need to add a section below titled PSX, Pre-StockX, to explain how resale has changed because of employee purchasing. Last bullet, inventories on sneakers readily available last year are extremely low this year. Try it. In the next section, I'll list my top sold sneakers, and it will be evident that even with the connections I have to purchase, Memphis had a lot of people trying to resell and failing, so I get a ton of consignment. The availability of sneakers, even in my channel of consignment, is low. This is because there are even more people buying in the same manner that I have always done. Arbitrage is now flooded. It's becoming much more harder to go out and buy a bunch of sale shoes. When you add to the fact that Nike is now cutting the boxes off of everything, you can't sell it on StockX. Nike is not getting a lot of inventory flooding in through the factory and the clearance stores. The stores themselves are not having a ton of inventory come in that is hot or resale product. When you factor in so many people are involved in arbitrage and finding sale shoes and selling them, it's just getting tougher and tougher to be a reseller. I could say this is a symptom of my hope that, I could have built a Stadium Goods or a Flight Club. And what I mean by that is resale in this city, in Memphis, a lot of the people who are bigger resellers in this city came through kind of my channel, except for some of the people who are getting things that are just completely hype and coveted shoes. Those people are be way beyond whatever I do. Wherever they're getting their stuff from, I have no idea. But the people who have always been kind of connected to me, I could never get all of those people to stay with me. They all eventually branched out and did their own thing. I trained a lot of people pre-StockX. Those people learned, and instead of staying with me, to help build like a multi-million-dollar business, they left to build their own $1,000 businesses. Over the years, I'd have to say I probably created 20 resellers. And teaching all of these different people to do this stuff, it came back to haunt me now. And that's not because of them. It's a pre-StockX thing. But let's get over here and go down to the bottom and look at January and how January 2022 showed a super increase in fitness shoes being purchased. So here's a list of shoes that I sold in the top shoes. My number one shoe was the Air Jordan 1. Number 2 was the Blazer 3 Air Force 1. That's always going to be in the top 5 of all shoes sold, no matter what. But here's where it gets interesting. The shoes that sold after that: React Phantom Run, Flyknit, Zoom X Invincible Run, Huarache Free Run, Air Max Pre-Day, Air Max 97, Pegasus 38. All of those different types of shoes are all performance shoes. Now, I know someone's like, the Huarache is not a performance shoe and the Air Max Pre-Day isn't a performance shoe, and neither is the Air Max 97. I guarantee you, if you go to a gym right now, you're going to see people wearing those shoes to work out in. Now, just because they aren't listed as performance doesn't mean that they aren't performance. And I've had that conversation on the website. But the post-holiday sales pattern is always skewed towards fitness footwear. And that's because people are doing their New Year's resolutions. While bigger analysts who look at data for sales consider these classic kind of footwear things like Huarache and Air Max as casual, I don't. The reality is everyday consumers use those shoes for fitness. This doesn't mean the usual suspects don't show up. The Air Jordan 1 and its variety of flavors remained the best-selling sneaker, even in my decreased amount of shoes sold, along with the Blazer and the Air Force 1. All right. After those 3, everything was performance. Now, my average sold price went up from last year. This may be the most interesting section because the hype sneakers weren't readily available. I used a different strategy for StockX. This strategy allowed me to be more patient on sneakers no one usually associates with resale, which is why when someone's like, "Oh, you're a reseller, I hate you," I'm like, well, go and find the other resellers that sold React Phantom Runs, Zoom X Invincible Runs, Huarache's Free Runs, and Air Max Pre-Days or Pegasus 38s. You're not going to find that reseller. Right? All right. Now, the resale price has been trending down for years, but I have to ask myself now if that was because I had access to more product. And that's not rhetorical. The answer is yes. For me, when sneakers are in abundance and easily obtained, my strategy is about speed. When the inventory isn't as available, my strategy becomes about patience. Even on non-hype sneakers, I stay patient. I understand this because I was on Amazon for so long, but I never really gave StockX a chance to see if it could be more like Amazon. And what do I mean by this? At retail, right? Shoes are stored, and when people shop, they'll buy them. Pre-StockX, resale was built around doing research when you couldn't find a product that sold fast, right? So if you didn't have a Jordan and you had something that was different, that was at a great price, you did your research to see if it was selling. Now, this is pre-StockX. I once said that the consumer on StockX was shifting, but I explained it based on speed and the assumption that the StockX consumer wouldn't pay retail on non-hype sneakers. But this is what's interesting. The average sold price for January 2022 was $120.95. That's up considerably from January of 2021. And it's up from the last few months. If you go back and look at the reports that I wrote in the last 5 months or so, you will see that things were declining and that this $120.95 is a higher price. So the margins are better. So real quick, last fall when I used Amazon for a short period of time, my average price went up. And you can find that in an article that's in the article that's linked in here. I should put it in the description too. Now, why is this important? Amazon resale prices are much higher, but selling there requires risk and patience. Pre-StockX using eBay and Amazon garnered higher resale. But after this January, I see that StockX has truly become a larger platform with some of the same consumers, similar to Amazon. The StockX buyer will purchase sneakers at, around, and above retail on sneakers you'd never expect. In the top 10 sold shoes, I have the Pegasus listed with 4. Another sneaker that sold 4 pair was the Jordan MA2. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot to you, but when you consider that I also sold the React SFB Carbon Low, the Little Posit 1, the Jordan Series .01, that 168 pair of shoes is really interesting. And according to my annual breakdown of price tier, if I had to predict where I sold more sneakers in January by tier, I guess it would be in the 100 to 150 range. And that's obvious because here's the price tiers over here to the side where you see 0 to 99, 59, 84, 100 to $150. With an average price of $120, it's obvious, but when compared with 2021 overall, this bodes very well for margins. And to be honest, it bodes well for StockX as a marketplace. The problem is, I'm a unique seller. My inventory isn't built like people entering resale or most people who buy in bulk quantities for their stores. So most stores without Nike accounts that work on consignment will never take the 4 to 10 sneakers I have in my list. They simply don't want them. They only want Air Force Ones and Jordans. Right now, the space that I'm in, even with these lower numbers, I may be one of the only people on StockX operating in that space, which is why it's able to work for me right now. Now, there's a number of ways that I can crunch this data, but it would take a lot of questions, and you'd have to leave them down here, and I'll try to get to them and go. But if you're a bigger business and you're watching this video and you want to ask me to crunch numbers, I have a button where you can pay for consulting, and I'll take all of this data and break it down for you. But I think I'm going to end it right there, and I will see you guys on the next one. Hopefully that was clear, because I know that was a lot of talking, a lot of reading. Like I said, the article that's over here is in the description. You can go and check it out. If you like what's happening on the channel, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. We'll see what February brings. Peace. My prediction is that sales are going to decline even more in February, even with Super Bowl and All-Star weekend. It's not a good look. Peace, y'all.